After the judge mocked her tears, Emma signs the papers, later learning he served the Mafia boss. The courtroom smells of old wood and broken promises. My hands tremble as I hold the pen, the ink bleeding onto the page where my signature will end everything I thought I knew about justice. Judge Harrison leans forward, his thin lips curling into something that isn't quite a smile. Crying won't change the facts, Mrs. Bennett. Your husband has presented overwhelming evidence. Sign the papers. I look at the man I married 7 years ago. Michael sits at the opposing table, his expensive suit perfectly pressed, his attorney whispering something that makes him smirk. He doesn't look at me. He hasn't looked at me since the day he decided I was worth more as a financial liability than as a wife. My daughter Lily is 4 years old. She doesn't understand why Mommy and Daddy don't live together anymore. She doesn't understand why her bedroom is now a corner of my sister's apartment, instead of the pink palace Michael promised her when she was born. Your Honor, my attorney begins, but the judge raises his hand. I've heard enough. The division of assets stands as presented. Mr. Bennett retains the primary residence, the investment accounts, and the vehicles. Mrs. Bennett will receive the settlement agreed upon. The settlement: $200,000 for 7 years of my life. $200,000 while Michael walks away with millions he built using connections I introduced him to, using my family's name to open doors that would have remained forever closed to a man like him. I sign the papers. The ink feels like surrender. Judge Harrison stamps the documents with mechanical efficiency, then looks at me over his reading glasses. Perhaps next time, Mrs. Bennett, you'll choose a husband who values your contributions. Court is adjourned. The words hit me like a physical blow. I hear Michael's attorney chuckle. I hear the shuffle of papers being gathered. I hear the door opening behind me as the next case prepares to enter. But what I don't hear, what I won't hear until much later, is the truth about Judge Harrison. The truth about why he ruled exactly the way Michael wanted. The truth about who really controls the courtroom in this city. I don't know yet that Judge Harrison has been on someone's payroll for 15 years. I don't know that every decision he makes serves a purpose far beyond the law. And I don't know that by mocking my tears. Today he has set into motion a chain of events that will change everything. I walk out of the courthouse into the February cold. Chicago's wind cuts through my thin coat like a blade. I should have worn something warmer. But I sold my winter clothes last month to pay for Lily's medicine when she got sick. Michael's insurance covered her, but the co-pays alone nearly broke me. My phone buzzes. A text from my sister. How did it go? I can't answer. Not yet. Not while I'm standing on the courthouse steps, watching Michael's black Mercedes pull away from the curb with his new girlfriend in the passenger seat. She's 23. She works at his company. She probably doesn't know that he promised me forever once, too. I start walking. I don't have a destination. I just need to move, to feel my legs carrying me somewhere, anywhere, away from the building where a man in a black robe decided my tears were entertainment. The streets blur past me. Michigan Avenue with its gleaming storefronts. The river with its grey water reflecting grey sky. The people rushing past, bundled against the cold, absorbed in their own lives, their own problems, their own broken promises. I find myself in a neighborhood I don't recognize. The buildings here are older, grander, with iron gates and security cameras and the kind of quiet that money buys. I've wandered into the Gold Coast without realizing it, into the territory of people who have never worried about co-pays or settlements or judges who mock their pain. A black car pulls up beside me. I keep walking. The car follows. I walk faster, my heart beginning to pound. This is how it happens, I think. This is how women disappear. I reach for my phone, but my fingers are numb from the cold and it slips from my grasp, skittering across the sidewalk. Mrs. Bennett. The voice comes from behind me. I spin around to see a man in a dark coat, his face partially obscured by the collar. He's holding my phone. You dropped this. Take it with shaking hands. Thank you, I should go. Please, he says. And there's something in his voice that stops me. Not threat. Something else. Something that sounds almost like concern. My employer would like to speak with you. About what happened today in the courtroom. I should run. Every instinct tells me to run. But something in his words, about what happened today, makes me pause. Who is your employer? Someone who knows Judge Harrison very well. Someone who believes you deserve better than what you received today. I look at the black car. The windows are tinted so dark I can't see inside. This is insane. This is dangerous. This is exactly the kind of thing that happens in movies before something terrible unfolds. But I think about Lily. I think about the $200,000 that won't last 5 years, let alone raise a child. I think about Michael driving away with everything while I stand in the cold, with nothing. 5 minutes, I say. I'll give him 5 minutes. The man nods and opens the car door. Inside, the warmth hits me first, then the smell, leather and cedar and something expensive that I can't identify. The seats are cream-colored, softer than anything I've touched in months. And across from me sits a man I've never seen before. He's older than I expected, mid-40s maybe, dark hair graying at the temples, eyes that are almost black in the dim light. He's wearing a suit that probably cost more than my settlement, and he's looking at me like he's already figured out everything about me just from watching me walk. "Mrs. Bennett," he says, "I'm sorry about what happened today." "Who are you?" "My name is Dominic Corsetti, and I have a proposal for you." Corsetti. The name echoes in my mind. I know that name. Everyone in Chicago knows that name, even if they pretend they don't. The Corsetti family has been part of this city's shadow history for generations. They own restaurants and construction companies and real estate developments. They attend charity galas and fund hospital wings, and they are rumored to control things that no one ever speaks about directly. "I don't understand," I say, even though I'm starting to. "Judge Harrison has been useful to me for many years," Dominic says. "He handles certain matters with discretion. In exchange, I ensure his comfort, his loyalty. He works for you. He works for himself, but he knows better than to displease me." Dominic's eyes hold mine. "Until today. What he did today, and mocking you, humiliating you, that was personal. That had nothing to do with business. Why do you care?" "Because I was in that courtroom, Mrs. Bennett, in the gallery, watching. I had a matter scheduled after yours, something routine, something that required Harrison's rubber stamp. But when I saw how he treated you—" Dominic pauses. "I was married once, a long time ago. She passed away before Lily was born. Yes, I know your daughter's name. I know many things. My wife was gentle, kind. She cried easily, especially when the world was cruel. And if anyone had ever spoken to her the way Harrison spoke to you today, I would have—" He stops, breathes. "I would have made sure they regretted it. What do you want from me?" "I want to give you what you deserve. Your husband, Michael, he made certain deals to build his fortune. Deals that required introductions to people who value discretion, people like me. But Michael got greedy. He forgot who helped him rise. He forgot the debts he owes. He owes you money. He owes me respect. And he owes you far more than $200,000. Dominic leans forward. "I can help you, Emma. May I call you Emma? I can help you recover what's rightfully yours. Not through the courts, we both saw how that works, but through other means, quieter means. I don't want to be part of anything illegal. Nothing I'm proposing is illegal. Uncomfortable for Michael, perhaps. Inconvenient for his new life, but completely legal." Dominic pulls out a folder and hands it to me. "This is documentation of assets Michael has hidden, accounts in the Cayman Islands, properties in his mistress's name, stock transfers that occurred conveniently before your divorce proceedings began." I open the folder. The numbers swim before my eyes. Millions, millions that should have been part of the settlement, millions that Judge Harrison chose to overlook. "Why are you doing this?" I whisper. "Because Harrison needed to. Be reminded that he serves at my pleasure. Because Michael needed to be reminded that debts come due. And because—" Dominic's voice softens. "Because my daughter would have been Lily's age this year. If she had lived. If my wife had lived. And I cannot help them anymore, but perhaps I can help you. I look at this man, this dangerous man, this powerful man, this man whose name makes other men whisper, and I see something I didn't expect. I see grief, old grief, worn smooth by years, but still there, still alive. What happens now? I ask. Now you have a choice. You can take this folder and walk away. Use the information however you wish. I'll have my driver take you wherever you need to go, and we'll never speak again. Or you can let me help you properly. I have resources. Attorneys who don't answer to judges like Harrison. Investigators who can find every dollar Michael has hidden. Connections that can open doors he thought he'd closed forever. Why would you do all that for a stranger? Dominic smiles and it transforms his face. For a moment he doesn't look dangerous at all. He looks tired. He looks human. Because helping you might be the first good thing I've done in a very long time, Emma. And because in my experience the universe has a way of balancing scales. What Harrison did today, what Michael did to you, it created an imbalance. I'm simply offering to help correct it. The car is silent, except for the soft hum of the heater. Outside, Chicago continues its grey afternoon, indifferent to the choice I'm about to make. I think about Lily, about the corner of my sister's apartment, about the $200,000 that's already being consumed by attorney fees and back rent and the co-pays that keep coming. I think about Judge Harrison's smirk, about Michael's silence, about the way the legal system looked at me like I was nothing. Okay, I say. I'll accept your help. Dominic nods once, as if he expected nothing less. Then, let's begin. Check if you're already subscribed to this channel, because stories like Emma's happen every day, and every day there are people willing to fight for what's right when the system fails. Subscribe so you never miss another chapter. The address Dominic gave me leads to a brownstone in Lincoln Park that doesn't look like much from the outside. 3 stories of weathered brick, a wrought iron fence that needs painting, a small garden plot that's dormant for winter. It could be any house on the block. But inside everything changes. The foyer alone is worth more than my settlement. Marble floors, a crystal chandelier, artwork that I recognize from museum catalogues. A staircase curves upward like something from a dream. Mrs. Bennett. A woman approaches, mid-50s, silver hair pulled back severely, wearing a suit that's somehow both professional and intimidating. I'm Margaret. I manage Mr. Corsetti's household and, when necessary, his business arrangements. Please, follow me. She leads me through a hallway lined with photographs. I glimpse faces I don't recognize, gatherings in grand rooms, a younger Dominic standing beside a woman with kind eyes and dark hair. His wife, Margaret says, noticing where I'm looking. Isabella? She passed 12 years ago. Complications during childbirth. The baby. She pauses. The baby didn't survive either. I'm sorry. He doesn't speak of them often, but he keeps these photographs everywhere. Says it helps him remember that there was a time before. Margaret stops in front of a heavy oak door. He's waiting for you inside. And Mrs. Bennett, whatever you decide after today, whatever path you choose, know that Mr. Corsetti's offer is genuine. He's not a good man by most measures, but in this particular matter his intentions are honest. She opens the door and steps aside. The room beyond is a library, floor-to-ceiling bookshelves, a fireplace crackling softly, leather armchairs arranged around a low table. Dominic stands at the window looking out at the winter garden. Emma, thank you for coming. He turns to face me. Please, sit. Margaret will bring tea shortly. I take one of the armchairs, sinking into leather that seems to embrace me. The warmth of the fire reaches my face. After weeks of my sister's drafty apartment, after months of Michael's cold indifference, the comfort feels almost overwhelming. I've had my people working through the night, Dominic says, settling into the chair, across from me. What we found is significant. He places a tablet on the table between us and begins scrolling through documents, account statements, property deeds, email exchanges. Your husband has been hiding assets for at least 3 years, Dominic explains. Long before your separation, he knew this was coming. He planned for it. He planned to leave me with nothing. He planned to leave you with exactly what the law requires, and nothing more. Unfortunately for him, he forgot that. The law only works if the judge is honest. Dominic's jaw tightens. Harrison knew about these accounts. Michael's attorney presented falsified financial documents, and Harrison accepted them without question. Because Harrison works for you, and Michael used to be useful. He facilitated certain transactions, moved money through his investment firm in ways that were convenient. But he got ambitious, started making deals without my knowledge, started thinking he was smarter than everyone around him, including you, especially me. Dominic smiles grimly. That was his mistake. People who try to outmaneuver me tend to find that the world becomes very uncomfortable very quickly. Margaret enters with a tea service, delicate china, steam rising in gentle curls. She pours without asking and leaves without a word. What happens now? I ask, wrapping my hands around the warm cup. Now, we begin the process of recovery. My attorneys will file motions to reopen your case, based on newly discovered evidence of fraud. We have documentation proving Michael committed perjury and that Harrison failed to conduct proper due diligence. Will it work? It will take time, but yes, it will work. Harrison is already distancing himself from Michael. He's received communications that have made clear his position is precarious, and Michael's attorney is discovering that certain clients are no longer willing to work with him. You're destroying them. I'm ensuring justice, real justice, not the kind that gets decided in courtrooms by men who can be bought. I sip my tea. It's perfect, exactly the right temperature, exactly the right strength. Everything in Dominic's world seems precisely calibrated for comfort. Why did you bring me here? I ask. You could have sent the documents, had Margaret explained the plan. Why did you want to see me in person? Dominic is quiet for a long moment. The fire crackles. Outside, a bird lands on the window ledge, then flies away. Because I wanted you to understand something, he finally says. The world I operate in and the world you're about to become connected to, however tangentially, it's not simple. People make assumptions about men like me. They think we're without conscience, without feeling. They think our power makes us inhuman. Doesn't it? Sometimes, power can corrupt absolutely, as the saying goes. I've seen good men become monsters. I've watched people I respected lose everything that made them worthy of respect. He meets my eyes. But I've also seen the opposite. I've seen men with dark pasts choose to do something meaningful. I've seen power used to protect instead of destroy. And which are you? I'm still deciding. He smiles, and again I see that unexpected softness. Every day I'm still deciding, but today I've chosen to help you. That has to count for something. My phone buzzes, a text from my sister. Lily is asking when you're coming home. Home. The word feels strange now. My sister's apartment isn't home. The house Michael took isn't home anymore either. I'm not sure I have a home. I need to go, I say, standing. My daughter? Of course. Dominic stands as well. Margaret will arrange a car for you. And Emma? He pulls a card from his pocket, thick cream paper, embossed with a phone number. If you need anything at all, day or night. I take the card. It feels heavy in my hand, weighted with possibility. Thank you, I say. For everything you're doing. I'm not sure I deserve this much help. You deserve far more than what the world has given you. We're simply balancing the scales. Margaret appears at the door, perfectly timed. She leads me back through the hallway of photographs, past Isabella's kind eyes, past Dominic's younger smile, past the ghost of a family that almost was. The car that waits outside is different from yesterday, a silver sedan, less conspicuous, more appropriate for returning to a cramped apartment where a 4-year-old girl is waiting for her mother. As we pull away from the brownstone, I look back at the windows. Dominic stands at one of them, watching me go, a silhouette against the warm light. I don't know what I've gotten myself into. I don't know if accepting his help was brave or foolish, But I know that for the first time since Michael announced he was leaving, I feel something I'd forgotten was possible. I feel hope. The next 3 weeks pass in a blur of legal documents and whispered phone calls and meetings in offices that feel like bunkers. Dominic's attorneys are nothing like the tired public defender I'd been assigned before. They wear suits that cost more than my car. They speak with the confidence of people who have never lost a case, because losing isn't something that happens in their world. We've filed motions to freeze Mr. Bennett's undisclosed accounts, Sarah Chen, the lead attorney, explains during one of our sessions. Based on the evidence of fraud, the court has agreed to halt any transfers until the new hearing. When will that be? 6 weeks, give or take. She slides a document across the table. In the meantime, we've arranged a temporary support order. You'll receive $15,000 per month until the settlement is revised. I stare at the number. It's more money than I've seen in years. More than enough to find a real apartment, to buy Lily proper winter clothes, to stop depending on my sister's charity. How is this possible? I whisper. Mr. Corsetti has significant influence with several financial institutions. When he suggests that certain accounts should be reviewed, they tend to be reviewed very thoroughly. Sarah smiles. Your husband made the mistake of thinking he was untouchable. He's learning otherwise. I sign the documents she presents. There are so many documents now, a paper trail of justice being slowly, methodically constructed. Each signature feels like a small victory, a step away from the woman who sobbed in that courtroom while a judge mocked her tears. One more thing, Sarah says as I prepare to leave. Judge Harrison has requested early retirement, effective immediately. There will be an announcement next week. Retirement. It seems he's developed health concerns. Nothing serious, but enough that continuing his duties would be inadvisable. Her expression is carefully neutral. Mr. Corsetti wanted you to know personally. I think about Harrison's smirk, about the way he looked at me like I was less than human, about the years he spent taking bribes and ruining lives from his comfortable bench. Good, I say, and I mean it. Lily adjusts to our new apartment faster than I expected. It's a 2-bedroom in Wicker Park. Nothing fancy, but light-filled and warm, with a small room that I've painted lavender because she asked for purple, but we compromised. She has a bed that's actually hers now, not borrowed, and a closet with clothes that fit, and a drawer full of art supplies, because she's discovered she loves to draw. Mommy, she says one evening, holding up a crayon masterpiece. This is our family. I look at the picture. There's me, identifiable by the yellow hair she's given me. There's Lily herself, smaller, with a giant smile. And there's a third figure, taller than both of us, rendered in dark colors. Who's that, sweetheart? The nice man who helped us, she says simply. The one who makes you smile now. I haven't told Lily about Dominic. I haven't introduced them, haven't even mentioned his name. But children notice things. They see changes in their parents that adults learn to hide from each other. I've been smiling more. I hadn't realized. That's very thoughtful, I tell her, kissing the top of her head. You're a wonderful artist. Can I meet him someday? Maybe. Someday. She nods, satisfied, and returns to her crayons. She's already moved on to the next drawing. A house with flowers, a sun with a happy face, a world where everything is exactly as it should be. I watch her work and wonder what I'm teaching her by accepting Dominic's help. Am I showing her that the world can be fair, that justice exists for those who fight for it? Or am I showing her that power is the only language that matters, that good things only come to those who align themselves with dangerous men? I don't know the answer. I'm not sure there is one. But when I look at her small face, so serious as she selects exactly the right shade of blue, for the sky I know that I would do anything, accept help from anyone, to give her a life better than the one Michael tried to leave us with. Anything at all. The hearing arrives on a March morning when the first hints of spring are pushing through Chicago's gray. Crocuses bloom in window boxes along Michigan Avenue. The air smells like rain and possibility. I wear a suit that Dominic's assistant sent, navy blue, perfectly tailored, professional without being severe. My hair is pulled back. My hands are steady. Michael is already in the courtroom when I arrive. He looks different than I remember, thinner somehow, like the past months have worn him down. His new attorney is younger than Sarah, less experienced, visibly nervous. Good. The new judge, a woman named Eleanor Vance with silver hair and sharp eyes, calls the proceedings to order. "We're here to review the dissolution of marriage between Emma Bennett and Michael Bennett," she announces, based on newly discovered evidence suggesting fraud in the original proceedings. "Ms. Chen, please present your findings." Sarah stands. What follows is methodical, devastating, and complete. She presents the hidden accounts totaling $4.7 million. She presents the falsified financial statements Michael submitted. She presents email exchanges proving that his attorney knew about the deception and participated in it. She presents evidence that Judge Harrison received payments from Michael's law firm totaling $200,000 over 3 years. The courtroom is silent. Michael's new attorney objects repeatedly, but Judge Vance overrules him each time. "Mr. Bennett," the judge finally says, "do you have anything to say in your defense?" Michael stands. For a moment, I think he's going to maintain his composure, going to spin some story that makes him the victim. But then he looks at me, really looks at me, perhaps for the first time since he decided to throw our marriage away. "Emma," he says, and his voice cracks. "I never meant to, I didn't think—" "The court isn't interested in what you thought," Judge Vance interrupts. "Based on the evidence presented, I'm ruling that the original settlement was obtained through fraud. All hidden assets will be included in the marital estate and divided equitably." She goes on to detail the new numbers. The house, which Michael will be required to sell, with proceeds split. The investment accounts, unfrozen and reallocated. Child support, tripled from the original amount. And a personal settlement for me, $2.8 million, to compensate for the years of deception and the emotional damage of the original proceeding. Furthermore, Judge Vance continues, I'm referring this matter to the State Bar Association for investigation of ethical violations by Mr. Bennett's former attorney, and I'm recommending that the previous judge's conduct be reviewed by the Judicial Inquiry Board. Michael sits down heavily. His attorney whispers something, but Michael doesn't seem to hear. I should feel triumphant. This is everything I wanted. Vindication, justice, financial security for Lily's future. But looking at Michael's broken expression, I don't feel triumph. I feel relief, and something that might be pity. He was my husband once. He held my hand when Lily was born. He promised me forever in a church full of flowers and hope. People change. Marriages fail. None of that makes me hate him. It just makes me sad for what we could have been. After the hearing, I stand on the courthouse steps, the same steps where I wept 3 months ago. But today the sun is shining. Today spring is coming. Today everything is different. Mrs. Bennett? I turn to find Dominic's driver standing beside a familiar black car. Mr. Corsetti would like to congratulate you personally, if you're willing. I look back at the courthouse one more time. Then I walk toward the car. Whatever comes next, I'm ready for it. The brownstone is different in spring. The garden that was, dormant when I first visited, now shows signs of life. Green shoots pushing through dark soil, buds forming on branches that seemed dead just weeks ago. Dominic meets me in the library, but today the fire isn't lit. Instead, sunlight pours through the windows, illuminating dust motes that dance in the warm air. Congratulations, he says, gesturing to my usual chair. You handled yourself beautifully in there. I didn't do anything. Sarah did all the work. You survived. You fought back. You refused to accept injustice as your due. He sits across from me. That's not nothing, Emma, that's everything. We're quiet for a moment, comfortable in a way that surprises me. Over the past weeks, I've grown accustomed to Dominic's presence, the calls checking in on Lily, the documents requiring my signature. The occasional dinners where we discuss everything except the obvious question neither of us has asked. What happens now? I finally say. That depends on you. The settlement will be finalized within the month. You'll have resources, freedom, the ability to build whatever life you want. And what about this? About us? Dominic's expression shifts. For a moment, he looks almost vulnerable. This man who controls judges and destroys financial empires with a word. I've been asking myself that question, he admits. What I want, what's appropriate, what's fair to you. I'm not asking what's fair, I'm asking what you want. He stands and walks to the window, looking out at the awakening garden. I've been alone for 12 years, Emma, by choice. The life I lead, the enemies I've made, the decisions I have to make every day. It's not conducive to relationships, to family. I closed that part of myself away when Isabella died. But then I sat in that courtroom, and I watched a woman refuse to give up even when everything was stacked against her. I watched her cry, and I watched her sign those papers anyway, and I watched her walk out into the cold with nothing but her dignity. He turns to face me, and something inside me that I thought was dead started asking whether it had to stay that way. I stand and move toward him. He doesn't retreat. I have a daughter, I say quietly. She comes first. She will always come first. I would expect nothing less. And I don't know anything about your world, the things you do, the people who want to hurt you. I would protect you both, with everything I have, with everything I am. That's not a relationship, Dominic, that's a transaction. Protection in exchange for what? Companionship, compliance? No. He reaches out, almost touches my face, then stops. That's not what I'm offering. I'm offering the chance to find out what this is, what it could be together. And if it doesn't work, if I decide your world is too dark, too dangerous, then I'll ensure you and Lily are safe and comfortable for the rest of your lives, and I'll never contact you again. I look into his eyes, those almost black eyes that I've learned to read over these past months. I see sincerity there, I see hope, and I see fear, the kind that comes from wanting something so much, you're terrified of losing it before it even begins. I need time, I say. I need to think. Take all the time you need. I've waited 12 years. I can wait a little longer. I nod, then turn toward the door. Emma? I look back. Whatever you decide. Thank you. For letting me help. For giving me something worth fighting for again. I leave the brownstone with his words echoing in my mind. The car takes me back to Wicker Park, to my lavender-scented apartment, to my daughter's cheerful chaos. But even as I read Lily her bedtime story, even as I tuck her in and kiss her forehead and whisper that I love her more than all the stars, I'm thinking about Dominic, about his offer, about the possibility of something I'd convinced myself would never come again. A second chance. If you felt something reading this story, if Emma's journey has touched you, leave a comment saying, "Sometimes the darkest roads lead to the brightest light." I want to know that you're here, that you're listening, that stories like these matter. Spring deepens into April, and I make my decision. It takes 2 weeks, 2 weeks of sleepless nights and long walks and conversations with my sister that dance around the truth. 2 weeks of watching Lily draw pictures of the nice man and wondering if she somehow knows, something I'm only beginning to understand. I call Dominic on a Tuesday afternoon. His voice when he answers is carefully neutral. "Emma, is everything all right?" "Yes, I want to see the garden, now that everything is blooming. Would that be okay?" A pause, then, "I'll send a car." An hour later, I'm standing in Dominic's backyard garden, surrounded by flowers I don't know the names of. There are tulips, I recognize those, and what might be hyacinths. But there are others, exotic. Things in colors that don't seem real, climbing vines that turn the stone walls into living tapestries. Isabella planted most of these, Dominic says, appearing beside me. He's different today. No suit, just a simple sweater and slacks, looking almost ordinary. She had a gift for making things grow. It's beautiful. It went wild for years after she died. I couldn't bear to look at it. But last spring, I hired someone to restore it. I wanted... He stops, seems to reconsider. I wanted to honor what she built, even if I couldn't maintain it myself. I turned to face him. I've been thinking about what you said, about finding out what this is. And I'm terrified. I'm terrified of your world and your enemies and the 1,000 ways this could go wrong. I'm terrified that I'll wake up one day and realize I've made a terrible mistake. His expression doesn't change, but I see something dim behind his eyes. But I'm also terrified of not trying, I continue, of spending the rest of my life wondering what might have been, of teaching Lily that safety is more important than courage. What are you saying, Emma? I'm saying I want to try, slowly, carefully, with Lily as my absolute priority, but yes, I want to try. Dominic doesn't move. For a long moment, he just looks at me, like he's memorizing this instant. You're sure? I'm sure that I'm tired of being afraid. I'm sure that you've shown me more kindness in 3 months than my husband showed me in 7 years. And I'm sure that... I take a breath. I'm sure that I feel something when I'm with you, something I wasn't expecting, something I want to understand. He reaches out then, finally, and takes my hand. His fingers are warm against mine. Then we'll understand it together, he says, at whatever pace you need for as long as it takes. We stand in the garden as the sun begins to set, hands joined among Isabella's flowers, beginning something that neither of us fully comprehends. It's terrifying. It's wonderful. It's exactly what I need. The months that follow are unlike anything I've experienced. Dominic is patient in ways that constantly surprise me, never pushing, never demanding, always letting me set the boundaries of our growing relationship. We have dinners where Lily is always welcome, and she adores him in the uncomplicated way children adore anyone who takes their drawings seriously. He puts her artwork on his refrigerator. He asks about her school. He learns her favorite foods and has his chef prepare them on special occasions. He's nice, Lily announces one evening as we're driving home. I like how he listens. He does listen well, doesn't he? Daddy never listened. He always looked at his phone. I don't know what to say to that. The truth of it, the simple, devastating truth spoken by a 4-year-old, sits between us for the rest of the ride. But Dominic's world doesn't disappear just because our relationship is developing. I start to see glimpses of it. The men who appear and disappear from his brownstone, the phone calls he excuses himself to take, the way certain topics make his expression close off entirely. I want to understand, I tell him one night. We're on his rooftop terrace, looking out at Chicago's glittering skyline. Not the details, but the broad strokes. Who you are, what you do. He's quiet for a long time. My family has been in this city for 4 generations, he finally says. My great-grandfather started with nothing. A fruit stand, then a grocery store, then a warehouse. By the time my grandfather took over, we owned half the produce distribution in the Midwest. That doesn't sound illegal. It wasn't, not at first, but during Prohibition, my grandfather made a choice. Opportunities presented themselves, and he took them. By the time my father inherited the business, we were diversified. You mean organized crime? I mean we had interests in areas that weren't strictly legal, protection, gambling. Eventually construction, which is a world where lines blur constantly. He turns to look at me. I'm not proud of everything my family has done, but I also won't pretend we didn't do it. And now? What do you do now? Mostly legitimate things. Real estate development, restaurant groups, a venture capital fund that invests in Chicago businesses. He pauses. But I'd be lying if I said every dollar I have was earned legally. The foundation of my fortune is complicated. I'm trying to build something cleaner on top of it. For Isabella, for the child you lost, for them, for myself. And now, he takes my hand, for any future that might still be possible. I process this information slowly, letting it settle. It's not what I would have chosen. It's not the life I imagined when I was young and full of romantic notions about love. But I'm not young anymore. And romance, I've learned, is less about perfection than about truth. Thank you for telling me, I say. Thank you for not pretending to be something you're not. Does it change how you feel? I consider the question carefully. It makes me cautious. It makes me aware that there are parts of your life that might always be separate from me. But no, it doesn't change the fundamental thing, which is that when I'm with you, I feel safe, seen, valued. That's not nothing, Dominic. After what I've been through, that's everything. He pulls me close, and I let myself be held. The city sparkles below us, full of its own secrets, its own complications, its own difficult moral equations. But up here on this terrace, with this man, I feel like I've finally found solid ground. Summer arrives with brutal Chicago heat, and with it comes the first real test of our relationship. I'm at the apartment with Lily when the call comes. Dominic, his voice tight in a way I've never heard before. Something's happened. I need you to take Lily and go to my brownstone. Don't go anywhere else. Don't talk to anyone. Can you do that? What's wrong? I'll explain when I can. Just please, Emma, go now. I don't argue. I grab Lily's emergency bag, something I'd assembled without fully admitting to myself that I might need it, and we're in the car within 10 minutes. Margaret meets us at the brownstone door, her expression severe. This way, Mrs. Bennet. Miss Lily, there are cookies in the kitchen if you'd like some. Lily is delighted by the prospect of cookies. I am not delighted by anything. What's going on? I demand once Lily is out of earshot. An old associate of Mr. Corsetti's has made threats. Nothing concrete yet, but enough that precautions are necessary. Threats against him? Against everyone connected to him. Margaret's eyes meet mine. Including you and your daughter. The next 3 days are a blur of fear and frustration. Dominic comes and goes at irregular hours, looking more exhausted each time. The brownstone fills with men I don't know. Security, he explains briefly, trusted. People. Lily blessedly treats the whole thing as an adventure. She explores the mansion with wide eyes, befriends several of the security staff, and declares that she wants to live here forever because the cookies are the best in the whole world. On the 4th day, Dominic finds me in the library. It's over, he says, collapsing into the chair beside mine. The threat has been neutralized. What does that mean? Neutralized. It means someone who wanted to hurt us can't anymore. The specifics aren't important. They are to me. He looks at me for a long moment, then nods slowly. A man I used to do business with got greedy, started talking to federal investigators, offering information in exchange for immunity. Part of his leverage was threatening my personal connections, making clear that if anything happened to him, people I cared about would be harmed. So what did you do? I didn't do anything, but there are others, people who benefit from my protection, from my stability, who viewed his actions as a problem that needed solving. He's dead. He's no longer a concern. I should be horrified. A man is dead, directly or indirectly because of Dominic, because of his world, the world I've chosen to enter. But I think about Lily in the kitchen, eating cookies with men who would take a bullet for her if asked. I think about the terror of that phone call, the rush to get here, the not knowing that nearly drove me mad. And I realize that I'm not horrified. At all, I'm relieved. This is what it means, isn't it? I say quietly. Being with you, there will always be threats, always be complications. Yes. He doesn't look away. This is what it means. And you would protect us, always, no matter what. With my life, if necessary. I stand and move to his chair, kneeling before him so our faces are level. Then I accept it, I say. All of it. The good and the bad. The light and the dark. I accept you, Dominic. Completely. He kisses me then. Our first real kiss, after months of careful distance. It tastes like relief and promise and something that might eventually be love. Fall comes gently to Chicago that year, painting the trees in colors that seem impossibly bright after the gray fear of summer. Lily starts kindergarten at a private school that Dominic quietly funds, though the enrollment is in my name, under my decision. I want her to have the best, he says when I protest the expense. Is that so terrible? I want to provide for my daughter myself. You are providing for her. You're giving her love, stability, guidance. I'm just helping with the logistics. We negotiate constantly now, a dance of independence and partnership that's teaching me more about myself than 7 years of marriage to Michael ever did. Dominic has resources I can't match, power I can't comprehend, but he never uses them to diminish me, only to support. Margaret thinks we should get married, he mentions casually one October evening. We're walking through Lincoln Park, leaves crunching under our feet, Lily running ahead to chase pigeons. I stop walking. Margaret said that. She said that having you here indefinitely without formal commitment makes certain practical matters complicated. He smiles slightly. She also said she's tired of referring to you as Mr. Corsetti's companion. What a romantic proposal. That wasn't a proposal. He takes my hand. When I propose, if I propose, it won't be because Margaret finds the current arrangement inconvenient. It will be because I can't imagine another day of my life without knowing you'll be there for all of them. That's better. I've been practicing. We walk on, Lily now examining a particularly interesting stick she's found on the path. Are you happy, Emma? Dominic asks. Truly happy. I consider the question with the weight it deserves. I'm happier than I've been in years. Maybe happier than I've ever been. I squeeze his hand. But I'm also realistic. I know there are parts of your life that will always be difficult. I know there are things you can't tell me, decisions you make that I won't understand. Does that bother you? Sometimes. But then I look at Lily, and I see how she's thriving. I think about where we were a year ago, that tiny corner of my sister's apartment, the $200,000 that was supposed to last forever, the judge's mockery ringing in my ears, and I know that whatever complications come with loving you, they're worth it. Loving me? I realize what I've said. The word hangs between us, surprising us both. Yes, I say, and it feels like truth. Loving you. That's what this is, isn't it? That's what I feel when I see you with Lily, when you come home exhausted and still ask about my day, when you hold me at night like I'm something precious. I do love you, Dominic says quietly. I've loved you since the moment I saw you refuse to break in that courtroom. I've loved you through every negotiation and complication and moment of doubt. I love you, Emma. Lily runs back to us, brandishing her stick like a sword. Look what I found. It's perfect. It is perfect, I agree, kneeling to examine it properly, just like this day. Can Dominic come to dinner with us? He can come to every dinner, I say, looking up at the man who has become so much more than I ever expected, for as long as he wants. Winter arrives, and with it comes a development I didn't anticipate. Michael reaches out. The message comes through my attorney, a request to meet, to talk, to discuss Lily's future. My first instinct is to refuse. My second instinct is to call Dominic. What do you want to do? He asks. I don't know. Part of me never wants to see him again, but part of me, I trail off. Part of you thinks Lily deserves to know her father. She does. Regardless of what he did to me, she deserves that. But only if he can be trusted. Only if he won't hurt her the way he hurt me. Dominic is quiet for a moment. I can tell you what I know, he finally says. Michael has changed in the past year, lost his company, lost his girlfriend, lost most of the connections that made him feel powerful. He's working now as a consultant, legitimate work, modest income. How do you know all this? Because I've been keeping track. I wanted to be prepared in case he tried to cause trouble. And? Has he? No. He's been quiet, reflective almost. Some men, when they lose everything, become bitter. Others become better. I'm not sure which he is yet. I meet with Michael a week later at a coffee shop in neutral territory. He looks smaller than I remember, thinner, older, like the weight of his choices has physically compressed him. Emma. Thank you for agreeing to see me. I sit across from him, keeping my expression neutral. You wanted to talk about Lily. Yes, He stops, seems to struggle with words. I know I have no right to ask for anything. After what I did, after how I treated you. But she's still my daughter, and I've been doing a lot of thinking about what kind of father I want to be. You had 7 years to think about that. I know, and I wasted them. I was so focused on building wealth, on appearing successful, that I forgot what actually mattered. He looks down at his coffee, untouched. I don't expect you to forgive me. I'm not sure I deserve forgiveness. But I'm asking, begging really, for the chance to be part of her life, in whatever capacity you think is appropriate. I study the man I once loved, the man who broke me, the man who inadvertently led me to something far better. What specifically are you proposing? Supervised visits? Once a month, if that's all you're comfortable with. I'll do whatever you require. Therapy, parenting classes, background checks. I just want to know my daughter, while there's still time. Time? He finally looks up, and I see something in his eyes I've never seen before. Fear. Real. Fear, not the calculated concern he used to display. I was diagnosed with a heart condition last year, he says quietly. It's manageable, but it made me realize how much time I've already wasted, how many opportunities I've thrown away. I don't know if I believe him. I don't know if his remorse is genuine or just another manipulation, but I think about Lily's question. Why doesn't Daddy want to see me? A question I've been dreading since the divorce, a question I don't have a good answer for. I'll think about it, I say finally. I'll discuss it with people I trust. And if we decide supervised visits might be appropriate, you'll follow every condition without exception. Of course. Anything. And Michael? I lean forward. If you hurt her, if you disappoint her, if you give her even one moment of the pain you gave me, there won't be a second chance. Do you understand? I understand. I leave the coffee shop with more questions than answers. But as I walk toward the car waiting at the curb, I realize something. I'm not afraid of Michael anymore. I'm not defined by what he did to me. I've become someone stronger than the woman who wept in that courtroom, someone who can face her past and choose her future. And that perhaps is the greatest victory of all. Spring again. A year since the courtroom. A year since everything changed. Dominic proposes on the anniversary, not in some grand gesture, but quietly in the garden Isabella planted, surrounded by flowers that have bloomed despite everything. I don't need you to answer today, he says, the ring box open in his hand. I don't need you to answer this month or this year. I just need you to know that whenever you're ready, if you're ever ready, I want to spend whatever life I have left with you and Lily. That's a very long speech for someone who doesn't need an answer. I may have rehearsed. I look at the ring, elegant, understated, nothing like the gaudy diamond Michael gave me years ago. This ring looks like something Isabella might have worn, something that belongs in a garden full of hope. Yes, I say. Dominic blinks. Yes? Yes. I'll marry you. Yes, I want to build a life with you. Yes, I'm ready. Emma. I've been ready for months, Dominic. I was just waiting for you to ask. He slips the ring onto my finger, and it fits perfectly. Of course it does. He's probably had it sized and adjusted a dozen times while practicing his not a proposal speech. I love you, he says. I love you too. Now kiss me before Lily finds us and demands to be the flower girl. He kisses me among the tulips and hyacinths, among the blooms that survived winter, among the promises of a woman who didn't live to see them fulfilled. But somehow I think she would have approved. The wedding is small, just 30 guests in the garden, with Lily indeed serving as flower girl. She takes the responsibility very seriously, scattering petals with the concentration of a surgeon. Michael is not invited, but he sends a gift, a college savings bond in Lily's name, with a note, for her future, whatever it may be. It's not forgiveness, it's not reconciliation, but it's something. a step toward the kind of co-parenting that might actually work. Judge Vance officiates, a small irony that doesn't escape anyone present. She smiles at me as I walk down the aisle, as if to say, "Look how far we've come." The vows are simple. Dominic speaks of finding light in unexpected places. I speak of choosing courage over fear. We both speak of Lily, of family, of the strange and winding path that brought us here. When the ceremony ends, Margaret, stern, unflappable Margaret, is wiping her eyes. "About time," she mutters as we pass. I was running out of ways to describe her. The reception lasts until sunset, then drifts into quiet conversation as guests gradually depart. Lily falls asleep in a garden chair, exhausted from her flower-scattering duties and the excitement of the day. Dominic carries her to her room now, not a guest suite, while I say goodbye to the last few stragglers. When he returns, we stand together on the terrace, looking out at the city that has become our home. "Mrs. Corsetti," he says, trying out the name. That still sounds strange. Give it time. We're quiet for a while, comfortable in each other's silence. "Do you ever wonder what would have happened," I finally ask, "if you hadn't been in that courtroom? If you hadn't decided to help me?" "Sometimes, but wondering about alternate paths doesn't change the one we're on." "That's very philosophical." "I've been reading." He pulls me close. "What about you? Any regrets?" I think about the question. Really think about it. A year ago I was sobbing in a courtroom while a corrupt judge mocked my tears. I was signing papers that felt like surrender. I was walking into the cold with nothing but my dignity and a settlement that wouldn't last 5 years. Now, I'm standing in a garden with a man who loves me, in a house that feels like home, with a daughter who is safe and happy and loved. The path between those two moments wasn't straight. It wasn't simple. It involved compromises I never thought I'd make and truths I never thought I'd accept. But regrets? No, I say. No regrets. If you've watched this far, it's because you liked this story. Leave a comment saying, "I've watched this far," so I can get to know you and see who really enjoys the stories here on the channel. And if Emma's journey resonated with you, if you felt her fear and her courage and her eventual triumph, please hit the like button and share this video with someone who needs to hear that second chances exist. Because they do. Sometimes they come from unexpected places. Sometimes they come wrapped in darkness before they reveal the light. But they exist. For Emma, for Dominic, for anyone willing to choose courage over fear. And maybe, just maybe, for you too. The last image is the garden in full bloom, morning light streaming through the flowers, and somewhere inside the house a little girl's laughter. Home, finally. After everything. Home. 2 years later. The brownstone has changed. There's a swing set in the garden now, and a sandbox and a small vegetable plot, where Lily grows tomatoes with varying degrees of success. Dominic's business has transformed too. The last of the complicated interests, his word always, have been divested. The Corsetti name now appears on hospital wings and scholarship funds and community development programs. Redemption through philanthropy, he jokes sometimes. Very American of me. But I know it's not a joke. I know he carries the weight of his family's history every day. The transition to legitimacy isn't erasure, it's evolution. It's choosing differently again and again until the choice becomes second nature. Michael visits Lily twice a month now, supervised at first, then gradually less so as he proved himself reliable. He's not the father I hoped he'd be when Lily was born, but he's trying. That counts for something. His heart condition requires medication and monitoring, but he's managing. He's present. For the first time in Lily's life, he's actually present. "Daddy took me to the zoo," she reports after one visit. "He remembered that elephants are my favorite." Small victories, but they add up. I work now, part-time at a legal aid clinic, helping women navigate divorces and custody, battles and the 1,000 ways the system fails people who can't afford to fight back. Sarah Chen helped me set it up, Funded it with a grant from a foundation I suspect is quietly controlled by my husband. I don't ask. Some boundaries are still useful. "You're making a difference," Dominic tells me one evening. We're in the library, our library now, with the fire crackling and Lily asleep upstairs. "Those women you're helping, they'll remember you. They'll tell their daughters." I hope so. I know so. He sets aside the book he was reading. "You saved me, you know, not the other way around." "That's not true." "It is. Before you, I was just existing, going through motions, building an empire that meant nothing to anyone. You gave me something to build for." I move to sit beside him on the couch, leaning into his warmth. "We saved each other," I say. "That's what love is, isn't it? Mutual rescue." I like that. Mutual rescue. You can put it on a greeting card. Margaret would be appalled. We laughed together in the firelight, in the house that became a home, in the life that grew from ruins. Judge Harrison died last year. Natural causes, the newspapers said. I didn't feel anything when I read the news. He was already irrelevant, a footnote in a story that had moved beyond him. Michael's former attorney was disbarred and currently faces federal charges for unrelated matters. Karma, perhaps, or just the universe correcting itself. And me? I'm happy. The word still feels strange sometimes, like a coat I'm not sure fits, but every day it settles a little more comfortably. Every morning I wake up beside Dominic. Every evening I tuck Lily in. Every moment I spend doing work that matters. The word feels more earned. Happiness isn't a destination. It's a practice. A choice made again and again in small ways and large ones until the choosing becomes second nature. Just like love. Just like family. Just like home. The story ends where it began, with a woman facing an impossible choice. But this time the choice isn't between despair and survival. It's between good and better, between happy and happier. After the judge mocked her tears, Emma signed the papers, and then she built a life worth living. Not despite the pain, because of it, through it, beyond it. Home. Finally. Forever. Home.